Speaking of the Green Bay Packers, the Packers are not on the same level as the Lions, Eagles, and Vikings in the NFC. And I'm putting the Vikings, I'm saying like the top 2 tiers, essentially, if you want to separate the Lions and Eagles from the Vikings.
The Packers are not on the same tier as, let's say, the Lions and the Eagles.
And the Vikings.
What?
I'm putting the Vikings in there too.
I think the Packers and Vikings are the same tier.
I mean, you're acting like the Packers haven't played the Eagles, Vikings, and Lions this year and played all those games with the exception of the Lions' home game disaster within a score, often coming down to the final possession.
What's the record? What's Packers' record in those 4 games?
Yeah, I don't.
What's the record?
No, I don't think that they're on the same tier as Detroit.
Or Philly.
Well, I think Detroit's better than Philly. Like,
okay, wait, what's your tier
Like,
again?
Detroit to me is in a tier alone by themselves. Then I have probably Philly, Minnesota, and Green Bay in the second tier.
Okay. So you do loop them into that same tier.
Yeah, but I don't like now with Detroit. I mean, they couldn't beat Detroit when Detroit was half hurt,
But Detroit's going to be half hurt the rest of the way.
and they still be. I think they're still better than Green Bay. is.
Okay. So Ziggy, you don't like the question.
No, I think the Packers have clearly shown they are on the same tier as the contenders in the NFC. Now, you're right, they haven't won it. And some people say that wins and losses are all that matter. And in the playoffs, that's true. When you're looking ahead and trying to predict what's going to happen, if you're going to the final drive against the Lions, if you're going to the final drive against the Vikings, if you're going to the final drive, I know like the Eagles had that game wrapped up, right? Jordan Love got hurt right at the end on like some crazy plays. But like the Packers had a chance for a comeback, and that was week 1 anyway. It's very hard for me not to look at this team and say that they could win in the playoffs. Obviously, it's going to be hard, but they're doing the kinds of things you want them to do. They're beating all the teams they're supposed to beat. The best teams, they're playing very, very close. And if a couple things break their way, they could do better. Now, if all of those losses were like the Vikings loss, right, where the Vikings get out to a giant lead and the Packers close the gap right at the end, that would be one thing. But they played this Lions team tough for most of the way. After a tough start, they got it back. They obliterated the 49ers. They obliterated the Dolphins, teams that I think are like a tier or 2 below them. No, I've clearly got this Packers team, and that's like 1A, 1B type tier. I think they're about as good as anyone.
Okay, yeah. So we're all in agreement because I'm with you as well. I'm just saying I was asking that question because before Packer Nation goes ape shit in the comments section.
It's too late. The comments are already flooded with "Go Pat, go! You guys suck."
Probably the reason I'm asking
the
that
unbiased show I love.
The reason I'm asking that is because I've been seeing a lot of Packers articles and Packers newsletters presenting that question and saying, hey, the teams we've lost to are the Eagles, the Vikings, and the Lions twice, the best teams in the conference. The teams we've beaten are the Colts, Titans, Rams without Puka and Cooper Kupp, the Cardinals, which is a very good win, but how good are the Cardinals, we'll see. The Texans, the Jaguars, the Bears on the block kick, the 49ers without Purdy, and the Dolphins in frigid temperature where Tua sucks. So I understand that people are looking at that schedule and saying we haven't beaten any of the good, like the really good teams that we've played. But my thought process on it, Ziggy, is similar to you. They were very, very close to beating Detroit. They were the second time. They were very, very close to beating Philadelphia. The Vikings kind of kicked their ass until the end of the game, until the fourth quarter. But yeah, like I think any game in the playoffs, I'd probably pick the Eagles to win at home. I'd probably pick Detroit to win at home. But it would not shock me if the Packers went to the Super Bowl.
I mean, yeah, it's one thing if you're beating up on, I guess, subpar competition and then getting waxed by the tier above you. Mm-hmm. But to beat who they really should beat and then to play competitively with Detroit and Philly, yeah, it's tough to say they wouldn't be able to beat them. So I'd go Green Bay in that tier with Philly and the Vikings. I just think Detroit's a little bit better than all of them.
Well, I'll tell you, next week is really the test for them, right? They go to Seattle. And what we've seen at Seattle is the best teams in the NFL roll this Seahawks team. I mean, no disrespect to them. When the Seahawks went to Detroit, they got rolled. When the 49ers went to Seattle, they rolled them. When the Bills went to Seattle, they rolled them.
What do we think of the 49ers?
The 49ers decisively won that game. I'm not saying you have to win by a million, but it wasn't close.
I mean, they beat the 49ers in San Francisco a few weeks later.
Sure, but I'm saying like the 49ers team on October 10th was a lot better than the 49ers team on November 7th.
Fair enough.
When good teams have been able to go to Seattle and beat them, and the bad teams have lost. I mean, the Rams, the Rams were able to go in there and win in overtime when Cooper Kupp was back. It's been close, but the Seahawks, I think, have been like the tier differentiator. If you're really good, you should be able to beat them decisively. If you're mediocre, you might beat them, you might not. If you're bad, you'll get crushed by them. Like, that's just how the Seahawks.
I actually like your analogy, but I would just straight up draw it on win or lose, because the Lions with Seattle, that back and forth game, they couldn't stop Geno that game. I think that the Seahawks are the perfect line maybe to represent contender from pretender.
Yeah, they are.
That's a great point.
With the Packers going into Seattle next week, if they have a solid victory, like, I don't want to see them going to overtime. I don't want to see it being a last-second field goal. But if they decisively win the game, I don't care what the ultimate score differential is, but you know what I mean? Like, they control the game for 60 minutes, they get it done.
Yeah, they're the better team.
Then I'm going to, like, then we know this Packers team is legit, I think. If they can't, then I'm going to be really worried.
Well, you know what it is, too? It's where they're probably going to play in the playoffs as well. So we'll get a good indication of, hey, can they go into this place? Like, this is, in all likelihood, a first-round preview.
I'm very sold on Green Bay if they just go in there and win this game. Like, even if it's by a field goal.
But if the Packers lose, this is an interesting discussion. We'll have a full Packers-Seahawks preview. But if the Packers lose at Seattle, does that change your tune on them a bit?
Not really, because I think Seattle right now is playing well. And to play this Sunday night game in Seattle, it's the first game they've hosted at night on Sunday since 2021. I think it's a very good win to go in there and beat them. And if they lose, I mean, I do think Green Bay is going to lose.
I think this is a really important game for the mojo of the Packers.
Like, Seattle right now is a good team.
No, they're a very good team. But if Green Bay loses this, it's a little disheartening to have that loss to the Lions, to have that loss to the Seahawks. You know in the back of your mind, we're probably going back there in the playoffs. Like, this is the perfect spot to get going at the right time.
I think they're better off losing now than being a little hungrier in the playoffs when they play them again. That's just me.
I feel like a win here. Then they have the Vikings coming up in a few weeks. Like, the games are set for the Packers to get on another one of those runs going into the playoffs. But it's a hard.
I mean, I'm not
hard
if
game.
they lose. I think Seattle wins this game at home on Sunday Night Football.
They've got to get healthy for this game, right? Romeo Dobbs concussion protocol, Evan Williams concussion protocol, Javon Bullard still week to week. They need some of those guys back, I think, in order to beat Seattle. But it's Jordan Love's time. He's been playing like a top-tier quarterback since the bye week. He's been very, very good. But at a certain point, that's got to convert to wins. And this is the week when you say, we're playing a team, we should be better than them. We've got the pieces to win. It's important, as you said, Paul, for the mojo. This is the week for the Packers to get it done. If they can't get it done, they're officially pretenders. That's my opinion.
Wow. So you really are putting a lot of weight on the Seahawks game.
I disagree with that. So I think the Packers will lose. But I think if this game was in Green Bay at night, they win like 42-7.
Yeah, I think they crushed them in Green Bay.
Yeah. I just think Seattle wins this game close.
DK's also, he's been hurt lately. That's another thing to watch. Is Jair back?
They're playing well.
We'll get into the preview later. But
Seattle's playing well.
All right, there you have it. The power rankings and over/underreaction show heading into week 15 of the season. Ziggy, thanks for joining us from the University of Virginia.
By the way, if you're a Packers fan, go in the comments. Let us know what you think about the Seattle game. Is it a must win? Is it not a must win? It's like, we're just talking. We don't have the pulse on the fan base. I want to know.
It's not a must win.
Not a must
win. I think it is. I'm curious what they think. Because Packers, almost no one's been more critical of this team than Packers fans this season, it's felt like. You know, in the media, everybody's sort of excited about them. They're playing well. But you've seen Packers fans like bench Jordan Love, garbage quarterback. You've seen them freaking out over every loss.
Well, that's why I asked that
the
question.
Lions game, half of them said it was a ref ball. Half of them said it was, we're never going to win a big game.
I could see Seattle coming out at night in those like lime green jerseys and just kicking the Packers' ass.
Would you change your mind in a playoff game?
If the Seahawks beat them once already?
Yeah.
I think the Packers will be a little more fueled up, but no, in Seattle, I think Seattle will win that game. I think Seattle's good enough where them being at home propels them to win a playoff game at home.
Over Green Bay.
I mean, but Jack, don't forget, the Packers are bringing their whiteout jerseys to the Seattle Seahawks.
So Seattle will show up in lime green.
I'm taking the all white whiteouts.
Has Seattle lost at home in those lime green uniforms at night? Like ever? I'm curious to know their record.
How many times they've done that?
I don't know if they're wearing them. I'm just hoping they are.
All right. Well.
Oh, they're 4-0 wearing the all green action jerseys.
Are they wearing them?
They're literally undefeated.
No, they're gonna wear them. They're gonna wear them and blow the Packers away.
Oh no, they lost one. They lost to. They've lost one, but otherwise they're good.
I don't know if they're wearing them or not. I just think they would be.
They should.
Oh, remember
They
in 2019 that Vikings nightmare in Seattle?
Was that in the
Which
lime
one?
green?
Which one?
When we lost 37-30 in Seattle.
Was that the game where 2019? Was that when Dalvin Cook had the gigantic hole on 4th and 1 at the end of the game? He would have walked into the end zone.
Yep.
Was that game?
Lime green.
There you go.
There's been a handful of Viking Seahawk nightmare games, but I believe that's the game where it's like 4th and 1, and there's the
That
aerial
was the game
shot.
where the only guy who could catch the ball was Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah, there's like the aerial view of Dalvin Cook running into 7 Seahawks when to the right of him is probably a 15-foot hole into the end zone, or at least for the first down. I don't know if that was the game. It might be a different one. I don't know. We'll have to go back and check. All right. We'll see you guys for the Week 15 preview and the Packers Seahawk preview as well.